Welcome back from the break, Rams, into another week of the Red Zone. I'm Sydney Wicker.
And I'm Ethan Bird. Well, the Broncos and Raiders kicked off Monday Night Football, and both teams came in with a lot of question marks. The biggest being the Raiders' absence of Antonio Brown. However, the Raiders showed AB they didn't need him from the beginning and delivered a dominant win, 24-16 over the Broncos.
Yeah, Ethan, it was a great win for the Raiders, but the Broncos definitely did not perform in a lot of areas where we thought they would, especially looking at the defense. I have a couple keys that I'm going to walk us through looking at what the defense really missed out. First being that there was no pressure on the quarterback. Derek Carr had all the time in the world to throw that ball. He had all the time in the pocket. He was able to move around, and that's because the Broncos gave it to him. And another key that we're going to look at is utilizing Bradley Chubb and Von Miller. They were not utilized at all in the game last night. Miller had 5 tackles and Chubb only had 3. So it was a silent night for the defense. And when you look at Vic Fangio, a very defensive guy, you'd expect a lot more as his first game as the head coach from this defense. But the defense was pretty much nowhere to be found. And that was the first time since 2014 that the Broncos haven't had a tackle on the quarterback.
I love that you brought up Vic Fangio because I know myself and a lot of Colorado natives were excited to have a guy who's been a head coach on the NFL, or not head coach, excuse me, a defensive coordinator in the NFL for over the past decade. And he finally got his head coaching debut, and he kind of dropped the ball in terms of the defense. This is a defensive team. It's been a defensive team for the past, decade or so? And it was like night and day. It was not the defense that we're used to, and I think Vic Fangio has a lot of work to do with them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But the offense definitely did not perform in last night's game, Ethan.
No, they did not. Yeah, they had 344 total yards and 18 first downs, but just accumulating offense isn't enough. You've got to score. You can't settle for field goals like they did. They only found themselves in the end zone once. So here's a couple keys I have for them going into next week. You've got to feed the super sophomores. And by super sophomores, I'm talking about Phil Lindsay and Cortland Sutton. Phil is one of the most exciting young quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Everybody loves to watch him. There's no reason that he should be splitting as many carries as he does with Royce Freeman. Royce Freeman should be in there because he's a bigger back. He's a little bigger than Phil. Phil can't help that, you know. Royce should only be in there when they're either in third and short or goal line situations. Otherwise, if you have open field, I want Phillip Lindsay in there. He's a playmaker. He's one of the faster guys in the league. He's going to find himself in the end zone if you give him a chance. Speaking of finding guys in the end zone, Cortland Sutton on the receiving side. He did not have a touchdown last night, and that's not something you want to see. The dude's basically Demaryius Thomas 2.0. He can put in work if he needs to, if you give him the chance. He impressed me last night, pulling in 7 catches on 8 targets for 120 yards, but he's got to find himself in the end zone. And second, on to my next point, please, for the love of God, protect Joe Flacco. He was sacked 3 times for 19 yards. Yeah, 3 sacks isn't a lot, but they all came at pivotal points in drives that looked like they were going to end up in scoring. You can't have your quarterback sacked on third down. It ends all chances of keeping a drive going, and that demoralizes a whole offense. He was hit 5 times. He never looked comfortable in the pocket. And Joe Flacco, he's a veteran. That's why they brought him in. He can pick apart a defense if you give him the time. Yeah,
absolutely. And I like how you first brought up Phillip Lindsay. Give that guy the ball, and he'll go with it. And that's something that they didn't really utilize with him. They tried a little bit, and it worked for a couple yards, but nothing super impressive, and that's where the Broncos really lacked. And I know they've been really slim at the tight end position, but they have Noah Fant, this guy from Iowa, and he's been key, and he did a good job in the game last night. He wasn't bad.
He just had that one penalty.
He did have a penalty there, but you have your wide receiver, Emmanuel Sanders, just coming off his injury, but he's been performing really well. He's the one who had the touchdown last night, and I think you really got to utilize those guys, but it all starts when you protect your quarterback. Like we said, Derek Carr had all the time in the world that he needed because he was getting protected. You protect Joe Flacco, and you'll get the same thing, and that's essentially why they won the game.
That is.
Yeah. Well, from one rivalry game to the next, the volleyball team is preparing to take on the CU Buffs this week, and Ethan, we have some key players to look out for. So who's on your volleyball watch list?
First up, we have to start with some CU players. For my first pick, it's 6'2" middle blocker Sterling Parker. The freshman has been an active part of CU's net defense with 17 blocks on the season. She's also a threat on offense, recording double-digit kills twice on the young season.
Yeah, and outside hitter Justine Spann has also been coming in hot for the Buffs. Spann is 5'8" and just set a record-breaking kills in a match for the Buffs with 21. She's also had a dominant performance in helping her team beat number 5 ranked Illinois with 16 kills and 1 block. Watch out for number 8.
Now let's move on over to some CSU players. My first pick, 5'10" redshirt junior Brianna Runnels is going to be a pivotal part of the CSU offense going into the showdown doubleheader. Runnels recorded 68 kills on the season, hitting 22.3%. Last year, the outside hitter had 18 kills against the Buffs. If she can replicate that, I think the Rams will have a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And another player to look out for outside of Runnels is Katie Olasak. She's been key for the Rams. The senior setter had 44 digs in the Rams sweep over 22 ranked Florida State. Olasak has been huge offensively when it comes to dishing the ball to her teammates. Olasak will definitely be someone to watch out for the Rams.
And I'll tell you what, Sydney, I am super excited for these two games. You get 2 showdowns for basically the price of 1. And who doesn't love a Rocky Mountain showdown? Both teams are coming in hot. CU at 6-0, CSU at 5-1. And I really think we can get a good game out here. They're both coming off beating ranked opponents, and I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really exciting. For the first time ever, they're actually going to be competing for a trophy, so I'm excited to see what these ladies put on.
Well, sticking to the court, but changing the sport. CSU men's basketball secured a big verbal commitment from Isaiah Rivera. The Geneseo, Illinois native is listed at 6'5", 190 pounds. The three-star guard averaged 28 points a game in only his junior season. The guard could be seen in a Rams uniform for the 2020-2021 season.
And just today, CSU football defensive lineman Ellison Hubbard was placed on the Eckridge National Team of the Week after 2 sacks and 5 tackles in the Western Illinois game on Saturday. Hubbard is now on this week's list with players also from Auburn, Alabama, Oklahoma State, and much more.
And now, Rams, it is time for another week of Tell Me I'm Stupid. So, Sydney, am I going to be calling you stupid this week?
Well, I guess we'll have to see, Ethan, but I need you to tell me. Do you think I'm stupid, but college football is way more entertaining than the NFL?
You know what, Sydney? I woke up this morning thinking about this segment, wondering how stubborn I wanted to be tonight. But I am so steadfast about this that I can't even play devil's advocate. College football is way more entertaining than the NFL. I have to agree with you on this. Can't call you stupid on it. Wish I could, but the amount of heart that you get out of these players they're working for their dreams still. And that's something special you can watch. You can watch guys who came from nothing and they're putting together something in order to be successful. And I think that's what makes college football so special.
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching the Texas and LSU game. Both of these teams almost had 600 yards, each of them, in that game. That is huge offensively when you look at that. And those are college quarterbacks. And to me, seeing that, I was like, oh my goodness, how can these two teams do that? But it was so impressive to see that at the college level. And like you said, you see all the liveliness in these guys. You see all the fun that they have on the field. It's so entertaining for me to watch college football, where at the NFL level, I don't see it as much. It becomes more about the money.
Oh yeah, and well, especially if we're talking about Antonio Brown. You don't get any of that stuff with college players. There's no drama there. But I mean, you look at this last week of NFL football, you can pick out what, 4 or 5 games that were super exciting. But you can look back at this week of college football and everything was exciting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Michigan versus Army, CU versus Nebraska, some very exciting games for college football. But Rams, that is all we have for you this week. But to stay updated on sports throughout the week, you can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at sports_CTV.
But don't go anywhere, because Janae Hancock has all the details on Ram events that you could be a part of. Entertainment is coming up next.